Here's an example of how to calculate the rectangular composite shape areas. I'll do these two here. You want to divide the composite shape into simple rectangular shapes. So I'm going to imagine that this was a rectangle split up top. Maybe I'll call this one 1. And then I'm going to also split it this way, and I'll call that 2. And then down below I'll call this one 3. So I've got 3 separate rectangles. I'm going to calculate each area separately. So I'm going to call this one area 1. So area 1 I know is still just length times width. Length times width. Or base times height, or whatever words you want to use, but it's one dimension times the other. And so in this case, I have a 2 by 16 rectangle. So I'm going to do 2 times 16. And these are meters. So when I multiply meters by meters, I'm going to get square meters. Area is a measure of a surface and how much it would cover. So how many meter by meter squares it would take to cover this rectangle. I will do the same thing for all 3 areas. So I'll take area 2's area, and in this case my length times width. I might need to do a little bit of calculating. I know that, I'll use a different color here, all the way across is 16, right? This is 16 going right across. But I only want to include this distance because I need to know the length. I've got a 6 by something, and so what I can do is subtract this much that I don't mean to count, and I know that that much is 8. So over here I would have all the way across minus the portion I don't want to include, and 16 minus 8 is also 8 in this case. So I have an 8 by 6, which is 48 square meters. So sometimes you need to subtract to figure out the dimension that you're missing. And then at the bottom I have a 12 by 3. So I could say area 3 is 12 by 3, which is equal to 36 square meters. And so my total area, I'll call it area total, would be equal to the sum of those 3 rectangles. So I could add those together. 32 plus 48 plus 36 equals 116. And I could check my work by typing it in and pressing the check button. I can see that it was correct. So you can make sure that you understand what you're doing and getting it right that way. Alright, let's try this one on the bottom here. This is like a big rectangle minus this inside stuff. So just as a visual here, I'm going to write it like this. I'm going to say the area is equal to a big rectangle minus this inside rectangle. So that would get me just the shaded portion. So I would take a big length times width. Maybe I'll call this area 1. And this is, well, it's area 2, but even then I'm going to split it up. Maybe I'll call it area 2 and area 3. So let's first figure out area 1. That's the whole thing, and that's a 45 by 43. So that is a big number. 45 times 43 equals 1,935. And that's square meters. Area 2, so if I split this up, area 2 I'll highlight area 2. Area 2 is just this rectangle here. So I've got 38 going up the left side, but I need to calculate its width here. And so what I would do is, to get the width, I could take 39 and I'm going to subtract 10, right? Because this much of it is 10. I know that from the bottom piece. So that makes this much of it 29. 39 minus 10. So area 2 is a 29 by 38 rectangle. 29 by 38. 1,102. Area 3 is that 10 by, and I'm going to need to figure this out. And in the same way, I'm going to take 38 the whole way down minus 10, and I'm going to get that that is 28. So area 3 is a 10 by 28. And anything times 10, just move the decimal or add a 0. So that's 280 square meters. So now I can figure out that original area. So up here, area would be equal to that big square, big rectangle, minus, I'm going to sort of add these two together. What would those equal put together? I would get 1,382. So I'm going to take that away, that whole, from the big rectangle. So I'd have 1,935 minus 1,382. I get 553 square meters. And we can check that. 553 is correct. So sometimes you need to calculate too much and then remove the area that you didn't mean to add.